Spurge here, and in this video we're going to break down the new TCX Hero 2 WP boots. So this is a pair of boots that I am quite familiar with. I actually own the original Hero boots, and I've got quite a few years and miles on these. They're actually one of my favorites, minus one thing. I do wish that these came in a non-waterproof version. I was actually looking around on the site the other day, and it seems that most of our lifestyle boots are waterproof. And if you are somebody that likes waterproof protection, you are in luck, because the Hero 2s are going to carry over that same waterproof protection as the previous version, but there is not going to be a non-waterproof version. So if you're someone like myself whose feet get sweaty in the summertime, something to consider. Now, the other thing to note here too is that there was a slight price increase. The previous version were around the $240 or $260 price point, about 20 bucks more for these. These are coming in around the $280 price point. Nothing drastic considering, really what we're seeing from the world of inflation around us. Sizes will still be 36 up to 48. Find that these fit true to size using the size chart. The only note that I'll make there, twofold. One, if you find yourself absolutely between two sizes, you're probably going to size down if you are stuck right in the middle there. And then the other note here is that if you are somebody that has trouble wearing narrower shoes, these do have a slightly wider sole than what we typically see from European boot manufacturers. I would say somewhere around a little bit wider than a D width, but not crazy wide. So like a D width, but not quite an E from a width standpoint on this. But TCX is usually a brand that people that do struggle with a really narrow footbed can find a solid pair of footwear with. Now, my second nitpick with these is that they only come in black. I love brown boots, and I really liked the previous version that had the brown option. I love how it patinaed over years of use, and I would love to see TCX include a brown version as well, maybe with a rolling update for this particular shoe. I'm just gonna set that aside because I want to compare these side by side. I'm not gonna keep bringing them back and forth. Now, this is gonna be really a lifestyle boot for folks that are out there that want something that's gonna be protective while they're on a motorcycle, but it is gonna be comfortable enough to walk around all day long. And with this newer version, they actually increased the comfort a little bit. We'll talk about that when we get into the sole. Looking at them side by side, and obviously my foot is much bigger than the sample size that we have here, and I didn't realize how big it looks until I put them on, next to this one as we started rolling with this. But you can see the leather. The old version had a really smooth, kind of a vintage looking dress shoe type leather. The newer version is still full grain cowhide, full grain leather, but it's got much more grain pronounced in the leather that they're using. And frankly, I didn't really like the leather on this when I first got them. It was a little bit too shiny for my personal taste. Like I said, it patinaed over the years, but I like this leather a little bit more right out of the box. It has a little bit more of a muted tone to it, not quite as shiny. And you're gonna see it does have a slightly different style. One of the main style changes is, it looks a little bit more subdued and natural in its style. You don't have the big TCX logo on the side ingrained in the leather with the very visible ankle puck displayed. The new one is much more subdued and much more just like a lifestyle shoe. The other thing that I really like about these is that the sole is replaceable. So this is going to be a Goodyear welt sole, and you can take this to any cobbler that you have in any town across America or wherever it is that you reside, and you can get the sole replaced. I love that in a pair of boots because they last forever at that point. If you get a good pair of leather boots that has a sole that can be replaced, you can continually replace the sole. And I have some boots that I have at home that are easily 20 years old that the sole has been replaced on 2 or 3 times. So carrying around to the front, you do have reinforcement of the toe. You are going to get a shift panel on both sides. This is symmetrical. You don't need a shift panel on the right side. You only need a shift panel on the left side. And that little extra panel there is just to protect, your boot from wear as you're working through the shifter. You can actually see on mine, you just start to get a little bit of distressing on the top of the distressor or on top of that little leather panel on the left boot itself. So taking a look at the sole is the main difference between the two. And you can see on the older version, it had a much taller sole. They actually cut the sole down by about 1/4 of an inch, not quite 1/2 an inch. So it's a much flatter sole than the previous version. Also from a comfort standpoint, it's about a 3 out of 10 on the rigidity scale. They almost made it not rigid enough, but much more comfortable to walk around in all day. So just keep that in mind. You're still having reinforcements back in the heel, and you still have the replaceable sole, but the sole is more comfort focused. So if maybe you had problems with the previous version, they were too stiff for you to walk around in all day, this is focused much more on when you're off the bike, when you're walking around, using it as a lifestyle piece, as well as getting that protection while you're on the motorcycle. You're still gonna have the cups at the ankles, but you're not gonna have them as visible as the previous version. The other thing to note, like I said, these are waterproof. You can see the liner goes up to just below the second eyelet. So in order to make sure you're not getting water pouring down from the top, you need to make sure that your waterproof pants go over at least the top of the boot down to the second eyelet. And there is going to be a side zip entry on this. Now the laces are going to be a wax lace, but you really, once you tie the laces off, you can kind of get in and out easily with the side zipper without having to worry about doing those laces every single time. The other note is they've changed the eyelet design up top, a little bit more of a metal round eyelet, not one that you kind of loop through or loop around. It is a connected eyelet, so you actually lace through the eyelet, not around the eyelet at the top. If you are looking at a step up from this, look at something like the Blend, which is a Gore-Tex waterproof protective boot. This is using TCX's proprietary waterproof membrane. And like I said, the only real nitpick that I have with that is they do get a bit hot in the summertime. I would love to see TCX introduce a non-waterproof version of this boot, and I would love to see it in brown. But as a owner of the Heroes, I can tell you I've had these for probably about 4 years now, and you can see they're still going strong. The sole is wearing really well, so if you buy these, chances are you're not going to be looking to replace them anytime soon. So my Heroes are going to still continue to serve me well, but if you are looking for a solid pair of boots that's going to last you well for years to come, I have had a lot of success with TCX as a brand, and especially with this Hero line, so it's great to see them iterate this and change it. Like I said, if you're listening TCX, I'd love to see a brown version of this for those people out there that don't want a black boot. But other than that, it is a classic in their lineup, and it's one that'll last you for years to come based on my experience. But if you want to hear about what other riders have to say, you can always click that little info button on your desktop or mobile device. You can read other rider reviews on the product page. You can read more details about the shoes themselves. And if you're still not sure as to which pair of boots is right for you and your riding style, you can always reach out to one of our customer service representatives. You can give them a call, shoot them an email, and they can walk you through all the different versions of boots that are out there to make sure you find the right one for your riding style as well as for your budget. I want to thank you for joining us for this look at the new TCX Hero 2 WP boots. I'm Spurge. Enjoy the ride.